This is Courtney.
And this is Kelsie.
And we're Pen Pals.
Hey guys, welcome to a new episode. Spring is finally here. Warmer weather, fresh starts, new beginnings. This season brings it all. A lot of people I've talked to have been moving recently, which is a really big fresh start for this season. So Courtney and I thought it would be fun to dedicate this episode to something that I personally feel people don't talk enough about is culture shock. It is a very real thing. I never really knew it existed until a couple years ago when I moved. And I just thought it was people just adjusting to moving to a new area, but it's a real thing that can take a toll on you. Both of us have lived in different areas of the country. Courtney's lived in another country too. So we just want to talk about our experiences. If you have moved recently, you're not alone. We've all felt these things. It's interesting too. I want to bring up that even moving to a new state in the same country, there are so many different cultures in the US and different lifestyles that I think can be really intimidating if you didn't grow up that way, and it can be scary to get used to something new. So we wanted to deep dive into the topic a little bit and talk about our experiences, and hopefully if you guys did recently move and are trying to find your tribe, your group, your life, hopefully we can help inspire you. Courtney, you recently just moved to Nashville. Yes. And from New Jersey, how has it been different? I want to talk about this phone call that you had with me right when you moved. I want to start there because I thought this was really funny personally, but anyway, you go.
So right when I moved, I remember I was talking to you on the phone, and I had went out to dinner with my family, and just like everyone was so nice and just wanted to have a conversation with you, say hi to you, where are you from, how are you doing, and like come over to the table and just like talk about, just to get to like know you so well. And there is a little bit of that in New Jersey, but I was just like, whoa, like they are being so nice and like going so out of their way, but I guess not really going out of their way because it's just like the norm here in Tennessee to be pretty friendly like that. So yeah, I remember I called you and I was like, they're so nice.
Well, I think it's funny because I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up in Iowa. We are a type of people that it's rude if you don't wave at someone when you're driving by them, wave at your neighbor, ask someone how they're doing. We're just a really friendly area of the country. And it's so funny, since moving out of Iowa and when I go back to visit, I just feel like everyone's just like a big hug. Everyone's so friendly to me. And I don't think growing up there, I don't think I realized that because it was all I knew. I didn't realize that. And I don't think I I can't talk today, appreciated it as much until I moved away to see that. Because I personally had the exact opposite experience. So I moved to Penn State, which I didn't think was too big of a difference from what I was used to. It was when I got my first job in LA that it really hit me, because someone told me before I moved to LA is like a different country. It's completely different. And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then I moved there, and the lifestyle is not what I'm used to. I had to learn a lot of terms like acai bowl. Veganism is very popular there. Vegans are very popular there. And I grew up in the number one pork state where it's like meat and potatoes. And so it was just really eye-opening to me to see all that. And I also remember the first time someone honked at me with their car, I cried because like you just don't do that in the Midwest. And in the South too, it sounds like Southern hospitality is a very real thing.
Yeah, like people will honk at you no problem in New Jersey. It's like it's a norm. Like, it's whatever. And then not that it's bad, it's just that's just like the way it is. Like you honk at people, you yell at people, but not in like a bad way. Like I don't know, like, if you go to New York or New Jersey from, like, anywhere else, like, people are probably like, "They're so rude," but that's just, like, how it is, but it's, like, not coming from, like, a rude place, like, it's just kind of like a go, go, go kind of culture, especially in New York City and stuff, and so even going from New Jersey to New York City, I always worked in New York City and I commuted. I took a bus and then I like went on the subway. Like it was just sometimes it was a lot. Like it was like crowded subway pushing everybody like you got to walk fast in the street and like or else like you got to keep moving. That's just how it is, but it's just so different here in Tennessee now. Like people take their time, people like say hi to you, they don't really honk at you in the street. And yeah, so it's just totally different. So I think also like a reason why we wanted to do this episode is because like working from home in the pandemic now, you can move wherever you want. So we thought it would be cool to talk about like the different places we were at because you could so many people could really move wherever they want and that's how I landed in Nashville because I started to be able to work remote for I'm still working for my New York City company but here in Nashville. So yeah, that's why we want to do this episode to kind of like talk about that, give perspective from like being from New Jersey, being from Iowa. None is like bad or none is better. It's just like I feel like now you get to like decide what you want. Like you are in control. If you don't want to be in New York City, but you want to work for a New York City company, you could do that. It's crazy.
It is. And it's fun that I don't know, the US I think is so fun because there are so many different areas. I heard a really good quote recently, and it said, if you want to change your life, change your zip code, which I
Ooh.
thought was really fun because, at least for me, I know there are a lot of kids who grow up in really small towns, like rural towns. There was farmland and cornfields all around me. I would always get stuck behind a tractor on my way to school. That's just the way I grew up. But I feel like there are a lot of kids in small towns who have really big dreams like I did, and I knew that I couldn't achieve them there. So my goal was to always move and go somewhere else. And that can be really scary, I think, in the first place. I moved to California all by myself. I didn't know a single person. I just bought an apartment all by myself. So not only is it really isolating, but you're trying to adjust to a new area, new people, new lifestyle. It's a completely different thing, but it's fun that you can choose where to go. I remember, okay, the one thing I do remember is when I went to Penn State,
Uh-huh.
I was at somebody's apartment or something, and they had like Coke and Pepsi and Mountain Dew. And
Oh.
like, oh, can I have a pop? And they're like, a pop? And I'm like, yeah, can I? Or something. And they were like, we say soda here. And I remember people made fun of me, and I'm like, what? What is happening? But it's kind of funny too, because I didn't realize Midwesterners do have their own kind of lingo. And I'm sure people from the East Coast have their own as well. But I married a man who's from this side of the country out
Yeah.
west. And still, we've been married for, it will be 4 years this year. I will still say things every once in a while, and he'll be like, what? What does that mean? And I'll say, you never heard this phrase before? And he'll say, no, what does that mean? I'm like, well, everybody I know says that. Another thing too, okay, you know those memes about Midwesterners and it says, oh, like Midwesterners are just known for saying that? As I always thought that was ridiculous. I was like, this is crazy. Nobody says that. Funny story. I went back to visit. This was a couple years ago for the holiday, and I was in a restaurant with my family, a barbecue place. It's called Jethro's. If anyone's in the Midwest, it's a super good barbecue place. Anyway, I was with my family there, and this guy pulled back in his chair, and I almost ran into him, and I went, oh, like people do, and I had this like sudden realization that we do these things. We do. Like we'll say for cute, and nobody else in the country
Well,
seems to say that for cute. Like if something is really adorable, you go for cute.
I've never heard that. It's so funny.
I don't know. That's super cute. Like, I don't know. They're just fun things, and it's just fun to hear other people's takes on it too, because it's so normal to me, and it's always fun to visit back home because
Oh,
people understand that lingo. I
yeah.
guess.
Yeah. No, I feel you. Like, I don't know if there's so many like New Jersey, like New York sayings as much and stuff, but like people like in Nashville, maybe not so much as for me, but for my parents, definitely they've noticed their New Jersey accents. They're like, "Where are you from? What is that?" Or they're like, "I like your accent. Wow." I haven't gotten that too much, but I know I have a New Jersey accent a little bit. But it's crazy because it's like I feel like I have to watch my tone with people. Like I will be like a little bit more like abrasive or like blunt or something, but like people aren't like that, like outside of New York and New Jersey. But then also I'm working with people in New York and New Jersey remotely. And so I'm talking to them all day and stuff. But then also now I have my life in Tennessee. And then like sometimes like when they'll say something to me, I'm like, whoa, like chill out. But it's like it's just normal. So I think it's like kind of tone of voice, bluntness, a little bit of that too for me and stuff. But neither is bad. It's just like you just get used to different places, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring up accent too, because I
Mm,
have had people, I know there are some Midwesterners, specific regions of the Midwest that have stronger accents. And
uh-huh.
I don't think you have an accent. I
Right.
mean, I when I met you, I couldn't guess where you were from or anything. And I've had people ask me, which I thought was weird, even when I moved to Phoenix. This was a year ago. I think someone was dropping off, we did grocery delivery during the pandemic. So someone was dropping off groceries, and I opened the door and I was grabbing them all and I said, thank you, and something else. I don't even remember what I said. And oh, I said the word BAG. That's what it was. Grocery BAG. And he
Oh.
goes, where are you from? And I was like, what do you mean where I'm from? He said, we don't say it like that here. Where are you from? I'm like, I'm from the Midwest. He goes, oh, okay. And my husband even makes fun of some of the words that I say, the pronunciation. And so funny, just this morning, can't even remember what the word was, but I turned to him and I said, how do you pronounce that word? And then I think that we're both kind of like, oh, what are we going to say that's wrong? It's just fun to see how people say things differently, because they do, and
Yeah.
lingo and accents. And I think, like you said, two things can be taken out of context even sometimes because of where you're from and how you um, describe something or express
Mm.
yourself. Like you said, in like East Coasters, in East Coast sense, for example, you're not trying to be rude.
No. Yeah.
Westerners and Southerners, I feel like, just have an extra way of extra words, asking how you are, really diving more into it on that type of level.
Mm.
And it's just different. There's no, they're not, one's meaner than the other or nicer. They're different ways and different types of people and different ways that people grew up. And that's all that they know until you go somewhere else and experience culture shock and
Yeah.
realize, holy moly, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what the right thing to do is. I remember I took an Uber for the first time when I moved to California, and that was so nerve-wracking for me because I don't even think a lot of places in Iowa still today even have access to Ubers because
Oh,
of
yeah.
how small town, they are. And the other funny thing is, growing up too, all the towns are really small. So you'd be like, oh, we're going to drive to this one for the day. And it's like
Oh,
15 minutes away, or go to the mall or whatever. And then in LA, it's like, oh, we're going to go to Santa Monica to the beach for the day. And it's an hour and a half drive, even though it's like 8 miles away. It's
yeah.
just kind of funny with traffic and everything. So it's just a different way of life. And I don't know. It's been a
Yeah.
fun ride getting used to everything.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely the biggest change for me was when I studied abroad in London. It's like you think like, okay, they also speak English, like it's fine, but it's completely different. I mean, I would say that it's like similar to New York City in a lot of ways because it's like a big city where there's a lot of people from a lot of different like countries and everything like in that big city and stuff. So a lot of different cultures coming together, which I think is awesome. And so and I remember like I had to get used to this. Um when I remember I went grocery shopping and I feel like I pissed someone off by accident. I do not know what I did, but they said like cheers, but they said cheers as like an insult. Like they were like, okay, cheers, babe, bye. Like, like, 'cause so like sometimes they'll say like cheers, like in a good way, like in a greeting, but also they'll be like, okay, cheers, like, okay, bye, F off, sort of in a way. And so I didn't realize that that was also like, okay. Yeah, and I remember I also said, I was grocery shopping again. I guess this was like the main interaction with like locals, I guess. No, I did a lot of other stuff, but I was grocery shopping and I asked someone, I was like, where's the shopping carts? And they were like, what? Like they looked at me like I had like three heads. I'm like, shopping carts? Like to put my groceries in? And they were like, trolleys. Like it's they call it a trolley. So yeah, there's just a lot of different, especially there, a lot of different words for things. As you know, there's a lot of different like British versus like American words for English.
Yeah.
But
Well, grocery stores I think can be overwhelming too. I interned in Toronto, which isn't that far away from US. I think from Penn State it was an hour flight or something. It was very short. And I remember being in the grocery store there one night and I just I was so confused. And that's just in Canada, but a lot of the brands I didn't recognize and I think it makes you feel homesick and just kind of not really knowing what understand what's going on, not finding comfort in something that you know. And I'll never forget. Yeah, I was in it's funny the grocery store and I was in the grocery store looking at everything and I was just trying to find some snacks and I just couldn't figure out all the brands and everything and that's why I like this is cheesy, but this is one reason I really like chain restaurants because whenever I feel like I just need like comfort food or like a piece of where I grew up or something, or if you miss your family, like I'll go to like a chain restaurant here. I'm like, oh, I used to always eat this at home. And there's just something about familiarity in a new area and that kind of thing that's comforting. So I think that's
definitely.
where the culture shock really stems from, especially just feeling like you don't, not even necessarily for me, it wasn't feeling about not really belonging, but not like comforted, not like you're supposed,
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it, you know?
That makes sense. Like you just feel like, do people get me? Do people like have a totally different way about like going about life, like their interactions with everything? Like it just sometimes seems like okay, like they could see me and they know I'm not from here or whatever, which is usually not the case. Like sometimes maybe, but like usually it's not like you're like sticking out like a sore thumb as much as like you
True.
make people are in your head.
It's true. Like I said earlier, people, when I was in college, for example, they couldn't tell where I was from. Maybe I did things differently, but I think to an extent, everyone kind of does things differently. And I think that's what's so cool about living in such a large country like this, that people all over do things differently. There are tons of different types of people and cultures and lifestyles and ways of life here. So it's fun to see all that. It can be quite an adjustment, but it's fun to learn things and see things and
Yeah.
just bring up this Midwestern lingo with my husband and watch him be like, I have no idea what she's talking about.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah, my boyfriend's from Pennsylvania, so it's not that much different,
Yeah.
but like he definitely he could tell my Jersey accent when I say like water or I say it like WUDER basically and he's like come on like like that's not how it's spelled, that's not how you say it and stuff. So Yeah, there's that. And then I feel like people in Tennessee, I like their accent. It sounds sometimes like they're singing a song. And I'm like, oh, that's very nice. There's like some ups and downs, or I'm more just like nasal, but
No, you're not. No, but I love hearing different accents. I think it's so much fun too.
yeah. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, and I say like I want to try to go to different places like while I'm working remote and stuff. Like
Yeah.
go to an air like get an Airbnb somewhere totally different. I've never explored like the Pacific Northwest. I want to go to like Washington and Portland, and my boyfriend's sister moved to South Carolina. I've never been there either, and so we want to check the Carolinas out, stuff like that. And oh, I went to Chicago recently. I told you about that. That was fun. That was fun. I like Chicago too. So there's lots to explore, which I think is really fun. Like obviously the pandemic is horrible in most ways, but the thing that has made things different is like you could work remote. You could like if you don't like one place, you could go another place and just feel free to try it out and see like where you like the best, or even if you don't like one place the best, like just keep trying different places. It's really nice to feel like you're not stuck anywhere. Like I hated feeling like, okay, I have to like get on the bus every day for like 3 hours to get into New York City. It was a lot. It was exhausting. Well, 1.5 hours each way, but it was just like so much of my time was taken up commuting. It was crazy. And so now I've like gained all of that time back, and it's awesome, and I love it. So yeah.
It is crazy. That's the one thing I do not miss is commuting. From
Yeah.
work from home, oh man. Yeah, it just saves so much time. And
Yeah.
you when you're home and like Zoom, amazing. You get to talk to people who are everywhere,
Yeah.
and to an extent I think the country, the world in general is shrinking in a sense because we can communicate to so many different people and times are changing and learning new things and hearing what other people have to say and everybody I I'm a firm believer that everything has its place, everybody has a place. So if you haven't found your place yet, you will. There are tons of different tribes of people, crews of people, groups of people all over that want to be your friend that would be perfect for you and areas and lifestyles and it's out there.
Yeah. Yeah, and we also wanted to talk. This will probably be a future episode. So, guys, let us know. Like, DM us. Maybe we'll post a poll or something too on our Pen Pals Podcast Instagram page. Follow us at Pen Pals Podcast if you haven't already. But we also wanted to talk about making friends in new areas as an adult. So, if you have any tips for that, definitely, yeah, we're definitely gonna have to do a poll for that. Like, share your tips for that. That's something that I found to be a little difficult making friends, new places as an adult when you're not in school and when you're like working remotely. It's tough. It's tough to make friends sometimes. So yeah, if anybody has any tips on that, like let us know for sure.
Another topic that I think people don't talk enough about, and it's very real as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, I think, like usual, we wanted to wrap up the episode with things that we've been watching, but all this moving business reminded me of Max Keeble's Big Move, that old movie.
Oh yeah.
I remember there's a character named Robe in it because he always wears a robe to school. The middle school.
Oh, I need to rewatch this movie.
You need to. It's so great. It's Josh Peck. He's
Oh,
amazing. Yeah, he plays Robe. It's just a
oh, I love him.
But anyway, what what have you been watching recently?
Yeah, so I talked about this in our last episode with Denise from No One Knows Anything pod. Um I was dying to watch Love is Blind, and I finally watched the whole thing. I had to wait for my boyfriend because he was away, and we watched all of season 1 together, and it was very fun. So we watched all of season 2 together. We binge watched it in like a day and a half. It was insane. Um so we waited till like all the episodes were out, and then I just watched the reunion and stuff. And oh my gosh, if you haven't watched it, watch it. It's a wild ride. It is very, very entertaining. And so definitely watch that. What I'm also watching is still continuing to watch The Bachelor, of course. We're getting towards the end. Um yeah, or actually when this episode comes out, it's probably like about the end. But yeah, another good season. I really like this season because, well, some people didn't like the season, like people weren't totally fans of Clayton. I mean, I'm not either here nor there with him, but I liked how this season felt like a back to normal because they had so many COVID protocols that they had to follow. But now they're back in the Bachelor Mansion. They travel to different countries. They travel to each family's hometown. So yeah, if you haven't watched it and want to watch it, I think it just felt really nice. So yeah, it's on Hulu if you want to watch it and you haven't. So yeah, that's what I'm watching now. What are you watching, Kelsie?
I love it. Well, I need to catch up on Love is Blind.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like that show is for anyone because my husband and I binged season one in a day
Yeah.
and a half. He was really into it too, so I have to bring that up. But I'm super late, top on the bandwagon, which is I think another Midwestern saying. But I just binged season one of Bridgerton. Season
Oh,
two actually comes out today. So I'm gonna have to get on that as well. But I was hooked from the first episode. Someone told me about it and I had to watch it, and it's really fun. It's a very different, if you haven't seen it, type of period piece. Very different. I think it's exploring that time period in a completely new way, and it's kind of eye-opening as well because being a woman, I think, and how much time, like how much the world has changed for us over the past just 200 years,
yeah.
is pretty incredible. And the things that we're able to do today, and that they weren't able to do back then. I'm gonna bring that
Yeah.
up. And also, I am watching season two of Space Force. Have
Oh
you seen it? I feel like
no.
you would love it. I watched season one immediately when it came out. Season two recently came out, and I'm slowly getting through it. I haven't had a lot of time. But I just think it's so much fun. Steve Carell is always hilarious,
Yeah.
and it's just a fun show. Another type of show that I think people really haven't seen before. A lot of comedy, a lot of sometimes political jabs in there as well, because it is a branch of the military. So um, just exploring that idea, and it's just a fun show. I think because you're an Office fan of The Office, right? I feel like
Yeah.
you would really like it. It's a
Yeah.
lot of the I don't know, just Steve Carell has this certain type of humor about him that is just really, I don't just he's just so fun. So
Yeah.
that's another one that I would throw out there as well.
For sure. Yeah, I'll definitely have to watch that. But yeah, so that's our episode for this week, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you could relate to it in some way. And yeah, definitely follow us on Instagram at Pen Pals Podcast. Listen to us on Spotify, Apple, or Google if you're not already. If you are, feel free to also watch us on YouTube. We film all of our episodes. And yeah, give us a rating, give us a subscribe, give us a like. We really appreciate it. But yeah, until next time, everyone. Bye.
Bye.